What's poppin', everybody? This is Sabrovine4. Time to talk about the main series Pokemon games again. So, a lot of things have happened since the last time I made a video talking about Pokemon Sword and Shield. Since this is a TCG channel primarily, I don't want to talk about everything that happens all the time. But the games are now close to release. Many different things have been announced, a lot of things happened. And I have a lot of things on my mind after watching a bunch of videos from other PokeTubers and just keeping up with everything. Now, I'm going to explain what I mean later on when I say Octopath Traveler in Pokemon. Maybe you guys have figured it out. But I just want to lay down a few things first. So, I watched a couple of days ago a video from Candy Eevee, great Pokemon YouTuber by the way. Probably most of you know her. The differences between the Gold and Silver Crystal games and the remakes Heart Gold Soul Silver. And I actually played Heart Gold. I owned the game myself with the Pokewalker and everything. Played that, did everything. And even I was surprised, like I underestimated just how much content and how many extra features Heart Gold Soul Silver brought to the table. And I think people need like a sort of reminder that pretty much since 2009/2010, when Heart Gold Soul Silver got released, they haven't really topped those Pokemon games. I mean, I would take Platinum any day over Heart Gold Soul Silver, but most people agree that that's the most complete, the best Pokemon game yet when it comes to content, features, all that stuff. And it really is crazy that it's been 9 years, close to 10 years, a decade. Now, you had the black and white games, they were great, but they went backwards in many ways. Then you had the 3DS games, updated graphics, woohoo, all that stuff, but then they went backwards in many ways. Sun and Moon, I had a lot of hopes for those games, but they were also disappointing in many, many ways. And with Sword and Shield, going into the new console, Nintendo Switch, with all that possibility, all those possibilities of what they can do, and we won't get all of the Pokedex, but we get some other wacky stuff as usual. Now, I actually found out yesterday about all of the leaked Pokemon and the total number of Pokemon that are going to be in the game. I'm not going to show anything, but I am going to talk about a few things, so if you don't want to be spoiled, then 3, 2, 1. But for those of you that want to know, like, the total Pokemon in the Pokedex is around 400. Just 400. This includes the new Pokemon, which are about 80 something. Now, we knew that since they were going to cut the Pokedex up and it was going to be a big deal, they're not going to include all of the Pokemon or almost all of the Pokemon. But I thought at least it would be an amount like how the Diamond and Pearl games had, like 493 Pokemon. Like it's a big number, but at the same time, pretty tight, Especially competitive wise, the DP metagame, that era was really tight, was really good. You didn't have billions of options, but you had just about enough for there to be a tight metagame with enough variety. Okay, so I was hoping there would be at least like around 500 Pokemon, but it seems it's around 400, maybe with the all of the Gigantamax forms, whatever Galarian forms. I guess people are going to add numbers to that, but pretty much the Pokemon are just 400, which is pretty disappointing. And the other thing that I notice is a lot of those Pokemon, I do think they have dope designs, and the sort of evil legendary, as it's referred to, I think is pretty damn cool. My kind of Pokemon, my kind of design. People say it looks like an Ultra Beast, but hey, that's what it means. Sort of a mysterious design, a sort of a weird design in a sort of alien way. I think that's pretty good for a legendary Pokemon. But anyway, what I've seen is that now that the games are close to release, like most people, including a lot of PokeTubers that complained at first, now they're all hyped. Now they're looking forward to the game. They kind of forgiven the Pokedex thing. They're forgiven the whole graphics thing and all that stuff. And it just goes to show you that it seems like for many of us, Pokemon is like crack. You gotta have it. I was really thinking, okay, are these games, they're probably gonna sell like hotcakes like they usually do, but will there actually be a little bit of a difference this time with the backlash? But, I mean, if everyone buys the game again, then that's just it. I don't think there's nothing gonna change. And the way Pokemon games have become now, there's no going back. It's just a natural evolution in a way. But my thinking on it is, and what I've been thinking about this for quite a while, is another series that is kind of similar in what happened to it, Final Fantasy. So I don't play Final Fantasy games, but I'm familiar enough with the games and what they do and how they've become. You had the classic turn-based, traditional RPG style Final Fantasy games, the most famous ones, the most revered ones. Everybody loves them. Classic games. And then slowly, as the franchise moved forward, it became more real time. It had more focus on story, cinematics, graphics. Square Enix experimented with a billion engines for the games and all that stuff. And it's not quite the same, but it's a similar situation with Pokemon in that as we went forward, the focus on how Pokemon games were made has shifted. To me, what makes Pokemon games great and why I think the Gen 2 games, the Gen 3 games, the Gen 4 games, even the Gen 5 games are fantastic is because of the level design, the sort of art direction, you could say, the vagueness. This is also something that somebody said to me that I couldn't really articulate, but now I know how to say it. The vagueness and the fantasy of having those sprites, and then you can just imagine yourself how everything goes on in the story, like when you encounter a legendary Pokemon, when you encounter, let's say, Red in Mount Silver, and you don't have all of those cinematics to show you exactly how it is, but your fantasy does all the work. And this is what makes, all these classic games so great to me. Of course, all of the legendary Pokemon that are hidden, the exploration, the mystery aspect to it, the fact that you make your own story, nobody's holding your hand. It's sort of like really, you're like an alone character in those old games. Like you play the Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald games, Diamond and Pearl games, even though there's other characters talking with you, you never talk. It's almost like it's an isolated experience, and I don't know if you guys understand what I mean, but it's awesome. And Pokemon games aren't made like this anymore. And I know a lot of people are gonna say, "Oh, dude, it's just nostalgia, and that's why you think like that." But I genuinely feel that even though let's say some events, some encounters, legendary encounters in games like Diamond and Pearl are pretty simple on paper when you think about it, because of the design, the level design, the choice of music, the vagueness, the graphics play a role into that, and the setting and all that stuff. It just tells a better story. It's almost like it's a whole different experience than the 3DS games. The 3DS games, to be honest, in the beginning I was like, oh yeah, cool, Pokemon 3D, better graphics. It's all good in the beginning, but I really don't care, to be honest. I think I would go back to the old sprites in a heartbeat and get that sort of vagueness. A lot of my favorite characters and favorite Pokemon are are what they are because of that fantasy, that vagueness. When I played Pokemon Ruby, characters like Steven, Pokemon like Salamence, Pokemon like Wilmer, they looked completely different to me than if I saw them in the anime, which I didn't really watch the anime all that much back then. So the anime after the Gen 1 and Gen 2. But because of that, it was almost like there were different kinds of Pokemon, different kinds of characters. And it's a whole different animal right now. But I will go back in a heartbeat, and I think many people would do the same. And maybe it's very, very unlikely they're going to do this for Pokemon because they don't have to. Final Fantasy, they can kind of afford to do that. But I would love it if they just, let's say, they keep making the 3D Pokemon games, whatever, and then they just make an old school one, like what Octopath Traveler was for. It's not a Final Fantasy game, but I think it's made by. I think Square Enix had a hand in it. It's a Nintendo. It's a Nintendo IP exclusive on the Switch, but I'm pretty sure Square Enix developed it. But yeah, you guys get what I mean, though. You know, all the Final Fantasy guys and RPG fans in general, they were begging for old school traditional RPG games, you know? They just got sick of all the new shit, the real-time stuff Final Fantasy and other RPG games did. And that's why when Octopath Traveler got released, you know, it sold out everywhere, you know, it was very successful. Everybody was surprised, you know, Square Enix was surprised. And same scenario in other sort of releases, like I think when Bravely Default came out, and they were surprised again that it sold so well. And you know, it has a sort of style, you know, stylish games. You know, it's that art direction with the sprites and stuff. That's great when they do it right. But my hope, my wish is that they do this. Like they give us, let's say, okay, here's for you old hats that just want old school experiences. Here's a new Pokemon game, and maybe it doesn't have like a lot of new Pokemon or even new Pokemon at all, but just another experience, another region, another story, and you give us back sprites, you give us back that old level design, because that's another thing is that when you have that sort of a style of gameplay, it's a whole different animal than when it's 3D. Like the stuff you can do, how the game is played, you know, with the tiles and all that stuff. It's just a whole different experience, and I think I really miss it. I think a lot of people miss it. And, you know, I would kill if they did something like that. Just imagine, because of all of the extra memory in the new consoles, they would be able to make a Pokemon game like how a lot of these ROMs, those hack ROMs are, where just they mish and mash all the stuff from other games. They make a crazy region, numerous Pokemon, all that stuff. They can do something like that if other programmers like fans can make these hack ROMs. Nintendo sure as hell can make a game like that. So this is my wish. An Octopath Traveler-esque Pokemon game. You know, for the new consoles, a new game, but you know, use the old graphics, use old level design, you know, all that stuff. The traditional Pokemon values. That's what I want. But this was basically, I think, all I had to say. I don't know what else there is, but I do want to urge people to remember that. I mean, most people, it's if you want to buy the games, of course, I'm not going to stop you. You have every right to do that. But I mean, if you're one of those people that are so-so, that are not too sure, and you keep buying them, then you keep sending the message that, okay, even though I have some doubts and I'm not really feeling Pokemon, I'm still buying the games. They're not going to care. And not to go into the whole Game Freak thing with the people they have and the talent game and all that stuff. I don't want to go into it. I've got plenty of thoughts for that. But, you know, I just want to remind people that it really has been since Gold and Heart Gold and Soul Silver since we had that revolutionary Pokemon game. And that came in 2010 and I think in 2009 in Japan. So, with new hardware, more memory, you know, new technology, they're making worse games than a game like Heart Gold Soul Silver. So, keep that in mind. And even Auras, which I freaking love, when you look at what they did with Heart Gold Soul Silver, it really just looks like they dropped the ball with those games, not including the Battle Frontier, not doing stuff like including the old soundtrack as well, which I really loved in Heart Gold Soul Silver. They should have done stuff like that too. But we just got the Delta episode, and that was it. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be back with my usual TCG stuff. I got a lot of work to do with the Cosmic Eclipse set. A lot of decks to show. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys subscribe, leave a like, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe to my channel for TCG content. But sometimes I do these rants about the main series Pokemon games, and all that jazz. And tell me in the comments what you guys think, if you agree, if you disagree. I know that, it's the perspective of old school guys like me, and a lot of the people that don't care are people that maybe started playing Pokemon games since Black and White. So obviously they don't really feel this stuff as much compared to, older guys like me. But anyways, this has been Saber Run 4. Thank you guys for watching. What's say?